My name is Jason Benitez and I'm the Director for Multicultural Affairs here at Union College, and this evening we chose to focus on a program that celebrated the life of Nelson Mandela because of the immense contributions that he has been able to really achieve for the world to see. He's a champion of social justice, has spent most of his life fighting against discrimination, and we felt that it was very pertinent to kind of have a program this evening that would honor that legacy, to really kind of raise awareness as to the massive contributions and accomplishments that Nelson Mandela was able to achieve, not only in South Africa but around the world, and what that means for people around the world. Dr. Eddie Summers did a great job of hitting on the really important points in Nelson Mandela's life.
Many people viewed Madiba as somebody who was very influential in their lives. In particular, in the 1990s, when there was massive violence all throughout South Africa, Madiba stood up after being released from prison and said, "Stop, we must stop this violence." And he traveled the country promoting this word of nonviolence. And people listened to him, so he was seen as a fatherly figure in many regards.
One thing that he seemed to focus on was the fact that when apartheid was deconstructed and a new government rose to power, a largely black government, that there was no air of resentment or revenge.
South Africa also sought to heal and right the wrongs of the past and the past injustices by also having what's called the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This initiative was spearheaded by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And this was a way for the country and those who were wronged in the past to testify and to talk about the wrongs that they experienced and talk about the injustice their experience. And it was meant to also bring justice to those individuals who have been wronged.
As Eddie pointed out, really under the urging of Desmond Tutu, they created something called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or the TRC. And this, as much as anything, I think facilitated, well, I mean, the leadership of Nelson Mandela, but this was part of his leadership, facilitated this nonviolent transition of governments. This here's this radical change taking place in South Africa. And I remember going there and just being struck by just thinking, how is it that this majority of the population who suffered this brutal discrimination for so many years, how is it that the first thing they didn't do was just take out retribution, take out revenge on their oppressors? You know, rioting, indiscriminate violence against every white person that you saw. I mean, that would be something that would be tragic, but it would be understandable on many levels. How is it that that did not happen? And that is, more than anything, I think, attributable to Nelson Mandela, the man we are honoring today.
One thing that really stuck out for me is when Dr. Ken Aslaksen made the parallels between post-apartheid South Africa and post-civil rights, the United States.
In the United States, there was not an official racial classification system like there was in South Africa. But there was a lot of ambiguous racial identity in the United States as well. So the most notable, the most well-known, the most infamous case in Supreme Court history, or certainly one of them, Plessy versus Ferguson. The plaintiff in that case, Homer Plessy, was chosen to be plaintiff mainly because of his ambiguous racial identity.
Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.